Kia ora, good evening. Invercargill mayoral candidate Lindsay Dow today took to the hustings in South Invercargill, and he was not alone. Retiring councillor Thelma Buck has lent her support to Mr Dow and his call for change within the council chamber. Hunter Andrews spoke to both earlier today.
We're not here to preach a message, we're here to get the concerns of South City people. I've got Thelma Buck in support, who's championed South City for a number of years. She's come along to support the fact that I'm here for South City people.
What do you think the key issues are for South City?
Most of the concerns seem to be about the CBD upgrade, the cost to the ratepayers. As I've advertised in the past, that I'm against the rejuvenation simply until such time as the earthquake risk assessments are done on those buildings.
And so that's the key issue. That's the key issue that ratepayers are bringing up. How about rates in general?
Yeah, the rates in general are the big thing, and of course that affects a lot of people down in this particular area. Is the concern of rising rates. There's been some views expressed to us about the A to B yacht race. They're pleased to see that's been shelved. They didn't think we could afford it.
Now you mentioned Thelma Buck there in the background. Now, how important is it to have her support?
Oh, well, very much. Thelma and I were on council together, 2 terms with Thelma. I made the approach to her to ask her if she would lend support to the fact that I was coming into South City, and she came away straight away. She offered her services.
And she has a few ideas for you?
We haven't really discussed tactics yet, no, but I certainly listened to what she's got to say.
You're supporting Lindsay Dow in his mayoral run?
I'm here because Lindsay asked me would I come with him to South Invercargill, because it's always been known that I was South Invercargill person. I'm in my 60s now, and out of those 60s years I've lived in South Invercargill for nearly 65 of those. So I do know a lot of people, and I did discuss it with the Mayor before I decided to come down here, because people get all twisted and turned around and get the wrong stories. So I thought I'd just tell him, and he didn't say a hell of a lot, to be quite honest. I think he was tongue-tied.
So do you think it'll be a tight mayoral race?
Hard to say, but I would like to think that the people get out this time and vote. They come through your mailbox, for goodness sake. There's plenty of places. You don't pay for a stamp for them. You can put them through the council front doors. You can put them in all the mailboxes around town. Just get out and vote.
Tell us why you decided this time not to run.
Well, I had a bad fall a couple of years ago. It sort of progressed into one of my legs, and I feel that even though my head works, my legs are not keeping up with it. So it was time for me to go. I have been there. I've had 2 goes, which amount to 21 years, and I think I've been there long enough to see all these nice new people coming through that can probably do a better job than what I've done, and I'm more than happy to move over.
So you think that people are going to vote for change this time around?
Well, people are disillusioned.
South Invercargill, what are South Invercargill people saying?
Well, the people down here this morning, we want change.
Road clearing is underway in several parts of Fiordland, with heavy rain and avalanche debris washing away parts of State Highway 94. Between Te Anau Downs and Knobs Flat, single lane access has been cut through fallen trees on the road, and a large slip has closed the Hollyford to Guns Camp Road. Roads are expected to reopen before the start of next week. The region's daily newspaper is going through further restructuring that includes redundancies. Fairfax Media New Zealand boss Andrew Boyle could not be contacted today, but it's understood 8 employees at the Southland Times face redundancy, with a further 3 workers employed by Fairfax in the city set to go also. Engineering, Printing and Manufacturing Union District Organiser Trevor Hobbs says he had heard nothing about the job losses until informed through the media. It's shaping up to be a short school week for Waihopai school pupils, with school likely to be cancelled for the remainder of the week. Children were informed late yesterday that school could be closed today due to heating problems. Principal Alan Mitchell said radiator warmth from the school's 8-year-old coal-fired boiler was waning at the start of the week. Investigations revealed internal reticulation pipes were damaged and the call was made to get a temporary replacement. It could be 6 months before a full assessment and tenders can be undertaken for a new boiler, which could cost up to $500,000. Stay with us. Coming up after the break, we explore the life of the lighthouse keeper as part of Conservation Week in the South. Welcome back. This week is National Conservation Week, and this year's theme focuses on encouraging young people and families to get involved and help protect and enjoy our natural environment. And there's plenty happening in the south, including a beach clean-up day on Sunday, a volunteering display at Hayes & Sons, and visits to a native bird sanctuary in Otatara. At the museum, a family fun day is planned for this Saturday with tuatara encounters, GPS training and tent pitching time trials, while inside the museum there's a special exhibition about lighthouses in the south. At the museum exhibit, the isolated and demanding existence of lighthouse keepers and their families are brought to life, keeping their stories alive. The Department of Conservation look after 2 lighthouse areas, including the old oil store at Pusiga Point and the road that links the lighthouse to the original settlement site, and Waipapa Point, where there are a range of displays that tell the story. After electrification in the 1950s, winding and trimming the light were no longer required and night watches ended. The lighthouse keepers still had other responsibilities though, such as sending weather reports by radio. Historian Rachel Edgerton says the South's lighthouses are a vibrant part of Southland's history.
It's just a really good opportunity to profile some of Southland's great historical stories and bring them to life for Southlanders during Conservation Week. In particular, bring attention to Dog Island, where there's a great partnership project going on for some conservation in the future.
So you've got several lighthouses on display. Things have changed quite a lot over the years with the way they've been operated though.
Oh, dramatically, yes. When the first lighthouses were constructed, the first was Dog Island in 1865, it was first lit. There were 3 keepers maintaining the light through the night. They had to keep a watch and trim the wick and clean the lens. And now it's all done with an electric light bulb powered by solar panels and no keeper in sight. An engineer visits a few times a year to check that everything's working.
Often they would have a number of families living on the one island, servicing the one lighthouse?
Yeah, in the early years the standard was 3, so there'd be a principal keeper who was in charge, and his word was law, more or less, and he followed the lighthouse keeper's guidebook of rules. And then there was a first assistant keeper and a second assistant keeper. And it was actually a requirement that they be married. After the first few years, they realised it was pretty difficult to live this shift lifestyle in an isolated place without support. And some of the provisional keepers would bring a sister or a cousin to help them out if they weren't married. Yeah.
Can you share some of the more interesting anecdotes of the lighthouse keepers' lives?
Oh, there's a great one from Dog Island, which I recounted at the presentation on Monday night that people seemed to enjoy. And it was about a keeper who was suffering with toothache. They weren't allowed to leave the lighthouse station, and he wasn't able to get dental assistance for his toothache. And so he was... This is what is recounted. I was nearly crazy with toothache. There was no chance of getting away. Therefore, I had to come up with being my own dentist. Sending to Dunedin for 2 pairs of forceps, I managed to pull out my own teeth. Anyone who thinks this is an easy job, let him give it a trial. So imagine pulling out all your teeth on your own.
And they ended up rotating families because they felt, 2 years of living in the same place with the same group of families became a bit intense sometimes. Yeah,
I imagine that was one of the reasons, but also they had people who were trying to move up through the hierarchy as well. So to get to be principal keeper, they had to move people around a bit. And yeah, there certainly must have been some tensions that arose from families living in isolation, but some also became very good friends and got on very well.
And we'll have more on Dog Island and the joint conservation work that's underway there in tomorrow night's bulletin. The Cancer Society's Relay for Life 2014 is already underway, the event being launched in the city last night. The 24-hour fundraiser is set for March next year, but planning is already well advanced. The last Relay for Life raised just under $240,000 in the South, a figure Cancer Society Otago Southland Chief Executive Mike Kernaghan says would be great to match, but the focus is on celebrating, remembering and fighting back.
What Relay for Life is all about is to celebrate and remember and fight back. And they're the three slogans that we use around Relay, and it's the celebrators around sharing with people the success of them having had a cancer diagnosis and beating it. Remembering is clearly a poignant ceremony where we have a candlelight ceremony where we remember those people who passed away from the disease. And fighting back is about the level of funding that goes into research to try and find answers or cures to what is clearly a very debilitating disease. Relay's been going in Southland since 2002, so this will be the 7th Relay for Life that will be held in Invercargill. I think the major achievement is actually bringing all of the community together in one place at one time, where we can do those three things that I'm talking about. We can celebrate, we can remember, and we can contribute to fighting back. And it's an opportunity for the Cancer Society to better engage with the communities in which it works. And we find that people come back time and time again, and we will probably have around 2,000 people involved in participating in Relay again this year, which is a similar number to previous times, and it's really exciting. We have teams of people that will register tonight and they will participate in March next year. Typically teams are at least 20 because someone from the team has to be on the track for the entire 24 hours. So typically teams at least 20 people so they can share that workload, and they will walk for that entire 24 hours, whether singly, in pairs or however they want to do that. Last time we filled out Rugby Park, we had a maximum 114 teams. They tell me this year they're going to somehow make Rugby Park bigger and we'll have room for 120 teams. But last time it was fantastic because the whole place was packed, and it was a wee bit like, I guess, for your rugby people out there, just like being at a very, very well supported rugby game. Thousands of people in a great atmosphere.
And that's all for news tonight. Stay with us. Up next in sport, we catch up with the Stags ahead of their road trip to take on Manawatu in the Bay of Plenty. From the news team, good night.